From CHGO, it's Adam Hoge. And from The Athletic, it's Adam Jahns.
It's one of the craziest games that I've covered live.
But
that crazy for me.
I feel like, how many times a season do we say that?
Yeah, but this one,
I know.
In the red zone.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just like, how does this franchise keep doing that?
Anyway, who cares?
Here they are, the Adams, Hoge Jahns.
What's up? Welcome in, Hoge Jahns, with another live edition on a Tuesday morning with you. For those watching on YouTube, appreciate you being here. Bears with a preseason game in the books, joint practices coming up against the Colts. It's an exciting week.
It's a busy week. Maybe I'll even make do or make good on my Portillo's bet sometime this week, since we'll be.
I doubt it. Yeah,
fine, I'll just hold off on it if you don't want the Portillo's.
I mean, I want it, but I just don't believe
you said you wanted a big week.
Yeah,
figured I'd pay off. I don't even remember what the bet was.
That's a great point. I don't know that I remember it. Something to do with the draft, right? Oh, it was that I got the Darnell Wright pick right.
You did.
That's what it was.
You did.
It was kind of a big pick.
Did you see TJ Edwards kind of throw off Peter Skronsky in the goal line?
I did. Yeah. Hello. I mean, that's just classic Wisconsin Northwestern
battle there.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Or the 5-year veteran taking out a rookie?
Yeah. Well, TJ Edwards actually told a similar story last week when he was talking about going up in a preseason game, I think, against the Patriots, and Matt Judon, I think, was the guy he mentioned. He's going down on punt coverage, and Judon just, smacked him. Oh, it's a different level of football here, even in a preseason game.
Yeah.
Jack Sanborn's stop at the goal line I was worried he hurt his shoulder or something. That was quite a collision.
Yeah, kind of head-on collision there.
Yeah.
Another Wisconsin guy. Doing you proud.
Well, another local guy making you proud. Do you see that video that the Bears put out?
There's 3 local guys we're talking about. Yes, I'm like halfway through it.
Yeah. You could tell it was filmed a little while ago because Robert Tonyan had his hair.
Yeah.
But it's still entertaining. You got
Jeff Joniak wearing his high school gear too.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a Bears YouTube video with Cole Kmet. I'm gonna go around. Cole Kmet, TJ Edwards, Robert Tonyan, Jack Sanborn, and Doug Kramer. They're all local products on the Bears roster.
And the biggest superstar from that whole group is Jeff Joniak. I got Joniak's autograph last week.
On what? Your mic stand?
Well, we don't see him anymore. He's big time now, now that he's with ESPN 1000, and I saw him signing in autographs in the crowd, so I just stuck my notebook out from practice and got the biggest autograph I could possibly get.
See, I do wonder, because Jeff Joniak he has an office in the media room, but they built ESPN 1000 built his new studio in another part of Hallis Hall, not too far. But Jeff Joniak's running back and forth. I almost just wonder if he just moves down there, which means Larry Mayer may move down into our room.
Oh,
that could be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we want that.
No.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Anyway, welcome in. We're here. Adam Hoge, Adam Jahns with you. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. We are live. We do have a ton of coverage this week. Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns. And you can find me on CHGO every day. Another practice recap show yesterday. We also will have live shows after the practices on CHGO this week in Indianapolis. My newsletter coming out daily for CHGO diehards. Check it out. And, of course, to all our podcast listeners listening the old-fashioned way, we appreciate you. We love you. Please rate and review the pod. Please send it to a friend, as we like to say. Let's keep this thing growing, both on the podcast side and the YouTube side. We're ready for another big season. I always get juiced up about these joint practices, Johns. Let's see. We didn't get one last year. The year before was the Dolphins coming to Hallis Hall, which was interesting. Definitely because it was at Hallis Hall, which we're not used to seeing, but it was still fun. I remember one of my most vivid memories of that one is Justin Fields having one of his best practice periods we've ever seen him have, quite frankly, against the Dolphins in a red zone period.
In the red zone would have meant absolutely nothing.
Right, because he was the third-string quarterback.
Absolutely nothing. It was outstanding.
Yeah,
and it was the the one time where you're just like, hello, what are you looking at? This is your best quarterback right here.
Yeah, you might want to give him more reps with the ones. Nope, didn't happen.
No.
So, and then let's see, going back, we've had some good times. We've
been to Indianapolis before, but this
Yes.
is a different location. When we went to Indianapolis, I think it was under John Fox. Was it John Fox era?
Yeah, I think it was the first year of John Fox, I want to say.
We were kind of restricted to the slab of concrete that wasn't close to the practice field at all.
No.
Remember that?
Yes, I do. It's very hard to see Andrew Luck carve up the Bears in practice.
We've been to Denver. We've been to New England. I like these joint practices. I think it reveals a lot about your team.
Denver was my favorite. Just also because of the location. But they had an awesome facility, and we could pretty much go wherever we wanted. They have a cool hill that fans can sit on during practice. I like that one. So I'm excited. Yeah, this location, is this the – help me out. Is this the Colts facility we're going to, or is this just where they have training camp?
I'm not sure. I know it's a massive sports facility. They have like
Yeah.
baseball tournaments and more here, soccer tournaments. I want to say the Pacers might be located up here as well.
Huh.
Guess we'll get a full taste of everything, but it's kind of brand new-ish, and it's massive, like 40 minutes north of Indianapolis.
Okay. Well, that means a shorter drive for us, I think.
But it's kind of off the highway,
Yeah.
so we'll see.
Okay. Well, any Bears fans heading down there, because they are open to the public. I know a lot of Bears fans. First of all, there's just a lot of Bears fans that are down in the Indianapolis area to begin with. That was one of the more underrated things about the Super Bowl when the Bears played the Colts. It was like there was this like dividing line going down Indiana between two teams that are not too far away from each other. So it's going to be a fun week. We wanted to talk about well, how about this? Before we get into the practices, let's wrap a bow around the game Saturday. Any takeaways that haven't been covered? We didn't really get a chance to talk on this show about the game. You were there. I mean, one of my biggest takeaways, Johns, was just for a preseason game, it was pretty entertaining. Like it was a decent game. It was not a game that you were just completely bored by in the second quarter.
Well, of course, you had two very long touchdowns scored by the Bears offense. So my reaction, if you were sitting with me in the press box, is when Justin Fields completed that pass to DJ Moore. First, I'm like, oh, off target a little bit. But then I start laughing because I just see this seam just open up and DJ Moore just raced through it. That burst we've seen at times in camp, like on slant routes where he takes a slant route 30, 40 yards because he's just the most dynamic offensive player the Bears have. You saw that. So I was laughing a bit that just this being his first game as a Bear, his first catch as a Bear, with all the buildup for him being a Bear, this is what you get. So it kind of humored me a bit, but a perfect, you can't write a better start for that pairing, even if it was against a bunch of backups from the Titans.
Yeah. It was against backups, we should say. But look, there's still something to be said for
They
going
should
out.
do that then.
Right.
And that's a good
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. There's a comment here from Daniel as we are live on YouTube today asking, why is no one giving credit to Fields for that game, evading the sack, getting the ball to Herbert with 3 Titans in his face? Yeah, I don't know why. Look, any Justin Fields discussion, there's always going to be people for whatever reason that are like, he didn't do anything. Look, the reality is just statistically, by a measure that I always like to look at called air yards, Justin Fields had -7 air yards in that game. I actually had to text Field Yates from ESPN in the middle of that game because I didn't know if you actually got negative air yards if you throw it behind the yard line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? Air yards measures how long the ball is in the air from the line of scrimmage on. So, if you like PJ Walker's 70-yard touchdown to DJ Moore last year, like that's an incredible air yards play. Whereas you throw a little dump off screen, if the ball's behind the line of scrimmage, you actually get negative air yards, so I wasn't sure. So I calculated it myself. There was only 3 throws to go off of Johns, and it was -7. So, yes, if you want to be critical of Justin Fields and be like, well, he never actually threw the – whatever. he executed what they were asking him to do. He didn't get hit, and he did. And to Daniel's point in the comment, like, by the way, that whole screen was jacked up to begin with. If you go back and watch the tape, there's like 6 different things that went wrong on that play, and then all of a sudden Herbert gets the ball and he's got no one in front of him. It's pretty.
Well, what you had is a screen called against the blitz, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Very good thing. And you need your quarterback to elude pressure in certain situations like that. And whatever. It's the preseason. There's another long touchdown. If anything, you hope it's a glimpse of things to come because Justin Fields can't do everything. He can't do everything. You know, like, look at the screen game of the Kansas City Chiefs. Every year, it's one of the best in the league. Remember how much emphasis, like, Nagy had to, how much he tried to coach it up one year and it just never amounted to anything?
Yeah.
It's always been such a valuable part of what Andy Reid does in Kansas City. It helps Patrick Mahomes. Every year, the Chiefs lead the league in yak. You get a lot of yak, yards after catch from the Bears. And I think that's positive. Last year, they ranked dead last in yak yards.
Yeah.
So, if anything, I see what the Bears did offensively as a significant positive just in terms of getting the ball to the playmakers and letting them do their thing.
Well, that was always one of the things we talked about during the Nagy era, which was like he's trying to run this offense that requires you to get the ball in the hands of playmakers, but they didn't really have the playmakers. They had a much lighter version of everyone the Chiefs had on their roster in Chicago, like at each position. Like the guy was half of what the player was in Kansas City, and including a quarterback. So it was just never going to work. And so that's what I think was so encouraging. And there's no reason to be critical of Justin Fields by any means. He operated the offense. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. As Daniel pointed out in that comment, he eluded the pressure from the blitzer that came screaming down the middle. The timing was a little bit off, not necessarily because of Fields. Jeff Schwartz, actually, I saw on Twitter, pointed out that apparently Tevin Jenkins went the wrong way.
Do we know that for sure, though?
I don't. Look, he knows way more about O-line play than me, so I'll just have to trust him on that. I just think the timing was messed up because of the blitz, and the ball just didn't. You do want the ball out a little bit faster so that the linemen aren't downfield, but whatever. It was a touchdown.
I think this is just the lesson of what we operate in now is even a preseason game gets over scrutinized. The good and the bad, you know,
right.
Like overanalyze the good and the bad, where analysts are like, I think even I love Brian Baldinger's reports, but like, which one did he almost? He gets them wrong too. You know, like they don't know everything, every single responsibility. They may have a better idea, but they get things wrong, and you got to like almost get it from the players themselves sometimes because the coaches won't give it to you. But it's a preseason game, everybody. The Bears scored 2 big touchdowns. I would just appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know what? Perhaps the reality is Justin Fields threw the ball 3 times, so there's not going to be a giant takeaway from there. But I just appreciate they came out, whatever limited snaps they had, and it turned out to be 7. They mostly executed. There was one poor running play, but there was also a couple good ones. I thought Darnell Wright played well. I thought both lines actually throughout most of the game played well, and that's encouraging. I mean, preseason or not, to get 8 sacks is something. And I saw another stat somewhere on Twitter that the Bears had they allowed the least amount of pressure, or one of the top teams in their first preseason game across the board, not just starters, from the offensive line. So I just think that was. Look, we've forgotten way more preseason games than we remember, and that's how it's supposed to be. And maybe we'll forget this one too. But we've certainly come out of preseason games with a lot more problems to talk about than this one.
You know what's a good thing is we're not talking about like some second half success story. Like, let's throw a name out there, like a Michael Ford. Remember Michael Ford?
Kind of.
Go back in the time machine.
Yeah.
I remember a bunch of stories on Michael Ford, an undrafted running back, after a big second half. At least we're talking about the Bears' best players instead of someone who may not make the team because he looks good in the second half. The Bears' best players did what they're supposed to do against a bunch of backups and produced.
And then there was that time Mitch.
And you know what? We're saying a bunch of backups, but some of those guys are going to be, excuse me, get some morning coffee burps, but like some of those guys are going to be regulars, contributors for the Titans defense this year. So it's not like they're playing a bunch of guys who are going to be cut tomorrow.
Oh yeah, especially on that D line. Like I think Weaver is. Like, there are some players that are gonna be legitimate players. But it was mostly backups. I don't know how good I'd feel about the backup quarterback situation behind Ryan Tannehill if I was the Titans. But
I'll give Will Levis some time.
Okay.
First game.
That was honestly the only concerning thing was like if you watch the Titans last year when Malik Willis played, they didn't trust him to throw the ball at all. And so for them to go down and score on the Bears defense, even with 3 starters out, I'm sure there's definitely some things that Matty Eberflus wants cleaned up.
That big completion was on Tyreek Stevenson. Lost his man in coverage. Just stop covering for him for a bit when he was supposed to carry it across the field. I'm not sure if he makes the play, but at least it'd be more difficult of a play. Maybe the ball's not even attempted as a throw, but
yeah. But I thought he bounced back. That's one thing we've talked about and we keep seeing with Tyreek Stevenson is he's been tested a lot here in the preseason, training camp, and now preseason. And every time something bad happens, he comes back and does something good. So I still like him, and I still think he's in position. Let me ask you this question before we move on to the Colts practices, and maybe it's a good transition because he needs to have a better week. At what point do you get worried about the Bears' backup quarterback situation?
Yeah, PJ Walker, like he started off really good in camp. Did he not? Like when the pads went on, I feel like you and I were like talking about this sideline. Oh, he looks good. Good deep balls to Tyler Scott in various drills. And then I don't know what's happened. Like what you saw against the Titans was a continuation of what we've seen in camp, which hasn't been productive football. Maybe it's defense getting better. Maybe that's it, but I think if you're talking about any backup situation for a quarterback, it's a problem. But you know, I do think who's gotten better throughout training camp is Tyson Bagent. A quick release.
Yeah. Potsy asked me yesterday who's been the second best quarterback in camp, and I was like, I think it's Tyson Bagent.
Bagent? Is it Bagent?
It is Bagent, at least according to the Bears notes.
Bagent's like the Chicago way to say it.
Yeah, Bagent.
Bagent.
I swear that's how they were pronouncing it though at the Senior Bowl. But
I feel like I've heard it pronounced that way a few times.
In the notes,
maybe
though,
on a full ESPN documentary.
Maybe the notes do say B-A-Y though in the pronunciation.
Okay, Bagent.
So, I'm not. I've been trying to be very patient with PJ Walker because I like the signing. I actually just looked at my notes from the first couple days of practice. You're right. There's some good throws in there that he made to Tyler Scott on a deep ball, at least one example. But then it's just like everything's been sailing high a lot. And it was still going on yesterday in practice too. So still trying to be optimistic about the signing, but it's been definitely an up and down. Hopefully it won't matter, right? Hopefully Justin Fields plays 17 games and everything's fine. But
I think you're at the point, if you're the Bears, you have to keep Bagent around. I'm not saying 53-man roster around, but practice squad.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's earned it. You don't need that extra veteran voice for Fields in his third season at this point. You don't need Trevor Siemian and Nathan Peterman here. I think if you're going to take a run at developing a guy who could be a long-term backup or maybe even a little bit better, how about the record setter from Division II Shepherd?
Yeah.
Because he's earned it.
I think he has. This is going a little bit off tangent, and I wasn't sure we'd get here today, but that's fine. Remember the new rule where your third quarterback can be inactive?
Oh, I forgot
and
about
come in.
that.
However, the catch with that is he has to be on your active roster. You can't take him off the practice squad. So
he's got to be in the 53.
Yeah.
I don't think the Bears have too many other intriguing competitions and other needs and injury things to make up for around the roster.
But maybe Nathan Peterman ends up being a surprise cut. He was on the practice squad last year too, a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So right now, if I told you they only keep 3 quarterbacks, who do you think they keep?
3 quarterbacks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Fields, Walker, and Bagent.
Okay. So you don't think that they'll just want to keep Peterman around?
No, you've done that already.
Yeah.
You've done the veteran voice for Fields already.
Plus, Walker is that too. I mean, Walker's been around now for a while.
Fields has been around now for a little bit.
Yeah.
I know veterans bring value in different ways. I know coaches say that all the time, but what a young guy. Like, work with the young guy a little bit. You might have something there. I'm not saying he's like, how long have we talked about taking a guy, developing him, and maybe trading him? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I feel like we've talked at length about the Bears trying to put some investment into the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You finally might have one, a record setter from Division II with interesting backstory. His dad's are like the best arm wrestler in the world, but the kid can obviously play football.
I'm intrigued. And I don't, obviously no one's coming here for Justin Fields' job or anything. Like, don't get it wrong.
No, we're not.
But you and I have both been screaming on this podcast for years now. It's always a good idea to keep a young developmental quarterback somewhere on your roster. And for the most part, the Bears have refused to do that. So I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's talk about these practices coming up this week.
Wednesday and Thursday night against the Colts.
I like that they're under the lights. It's a little different. They used to have at least one practice down in Bourbonnais under the lights.
In that stadium.
In the stadium. And I always liked those nights. Now, they were longer nights. We didn't get to, spend as much time at TJ Donlan's those nights because we had to, work and write and everything once the practice was over. But for a couple nights of camp, I think it's a good change of pace. Should be a little bit cooler. So this will be interesting. Who do you think has the most to gain in these padded joint practices against another opponent? So you get different looks.
I'm going to give you 2 rookies who, one, I think has the starting spot, can completely secure it, and one who seems to be on the verge of pushing some veterans. Tyreek Stevenson at cornerback and Rasheem Johnson at running back. We saw Rasheem Johnson play with the ones yesterday inside Walter Payton Center. And we know Stevenson just had a great game, playing a lot against the Titans. So if you're the Bears and you want to see them compete against different players and do what they did against the Titans and in camp, another great opportunity for these 2 rookies to secure one a starting role and one to move up the depth chart.
So Rasheem yesterday practicing with the ones. I need to see it again later in the week. Treston Ebner was not at practice, and Ebner has gotten some run here periodically with the ones, kind of to the surprise of both of us, I think. But they've been giving all the running backs an opportunity. So I think that had something to do with it. Perhaps coming off the game, they're just limiting some reps for Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman. I don't know.
But you have so many running backs.
Right. So,
and Rasheem Johnson had one of the best runs the Bears had against the Titans.
Well, and I do like when coaches reward players that played well. And I think that's one of the things we try to follow in camp, especially when there's competitions, is how does the depth chart possibly change after one of these games?
Hold on. I want to read something. Keep talking. I want to read something from Flus on him.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is if Rasheem goes down to Indy, though, and continues to get reps with the ones and continues to practice well, that's where I agree with you. Most to gain, that would be a huge opportunity for him. And he could certainly help himself a lot if he keeps that up.
We saw him get some reps against the ones in camp. Now, there was a portion in camp, at least one of those 3-day stretches where, he was out for a bit, so you saw a lot more of Ebner. You saw a lot more of Homer. But then once he was back, he was rotating in there left and right. I felt like those guys, it's hard to keep track of sometimes because they make so many rotations. Herbert's getting the most, but the rest of them are coming in and out. And to hear this from Flus, because Flus was asked about this, Rashawn Smith working out with the ones yesterday.
Rashawn Johnson?
Rashawn Johnson, yes. Rashawn Smith. Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is back, everybody.
No.
Here it is. What do they like about Rashawn Johnson? Almost did it again. Just the running style. He's a downhill guy that we're excited about. He's got good vision. And since he's gotten in there, we really love this style. We're just going to keep letting that thing compete out where it belongs, and we'll see where it goes. I'm repeating this part. We really love the running style.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever said that about another running back on this team other than David Montgomery.
Who's no longer on the team.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's just where I get. They say they like a lot of things about guys who end up playing elsewhere. So and obviously Rashawn Johnson's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
But I just, okay. But it was a good start. It was a really good start.
For Stevens, sorry, go ahead.
I've been just conflicted on this guy because from day one I've said I like him a lot. I just worry sometimes we're overrating it. 4th round running back. But it is a position where guys do this all the time.
The Bears did that to themselves.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
I put him down as we have our training camp awards that came out, and one of them was the most impressive offensive player not named DJ Moore. I put Rashawn Johnson. I like his running style too. I think it fits what the Bears want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, physical, downhill, all positive yards. But the Bears built this guy up. So I held him to a high standard. And then just to see that run he had against the Titans, I got it. It's a rookie going up against guys who may not be in the team, but to see him explode like that, break a few tackles, get to the outside, I was impressed.
All right, I got a player that's got a lot to gain this week.
Okay.
I think he needs to gain it. Someone in the eyes of the fan base at this point. And it's someone we talked to yesterday. And I don't think he has much to lose because he just signed a huge-ass contract here and he's not going anywhere. He's going to be starting at right guard. But that's Nate Davis. So he didn't want to answer any questions yesterday, really at all. That's fine. Didn't want to say why he was really out. Said he's back, but then when he was asked if you're going to keep practicing in pads, he said that's up to the coaches and trainers. It was a really odd press conference, to be honest with you. That's fine. Not a big deal. But I was listening to Ryan Poles' pregame hit that he does on the radio network with Joniak every week before games. And at one point he did say, like, he's got to kind of stop himself sometimes from being, like, getting too frustrated when guys just aren't practicing. And I would imagine that somebody that you gave a $30 million contract to that's practiced a handful of times since he signed in March is someone you'd be a little bit frustrated with that's not practicing.
Quite literally a handful.
Yes. He has literally not been in a padded practice as an offensive lineman. So, one, is he out there practicing in pads? Two, if he is, does he participate in team drills? And then three, if he does that, how does he look? And again, I'm not sure he has much to lose because if he doesn't practice at all this week and he's still on track for week 1, he's still going to be the starting right guard. But if he comes out and has a good week and answers some of these questions, I think he has a lot to gain because he's getting a long leash here, I think, even from some of the fans. But they do want to see that he's practicing and actually physically see this new right guard that they gave up, again, a big contract to.
So you're saying he's got an opportunity to build up some faith from the fan base or build up the fan base's faith.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that.
So I think it's not necessarily a big week for Nate Davis, but it's a good opportunity for him.
I did watch that press conference with them. It's tough because like Kyle Shanahan will reveal injuries at this point. Matt Eberflus won't. My general rule is if he's out there, it's not serious. Like if you could see the guy, it may be longer than you want, but it's not serious. I don't know. Did you get a sense that there seems to be some conflict between the Bears staff and him about what he can do or what he won't do and stuff like that?
Look, this reminds me a little bit of Tevin Jenkins last year. There's more to the story. It's remember how Tevin was in limbo during training camp and there was trade rumors and the thing we kept saying on this show was if the team wanted to put all that to bed, they could. This is definitely different than like even Tremaine Edmonds, one of your biggest players on defense, being out now for a couple weeks. But you heard yesterday, oh, he's in all the meetings, he's in all the walkthroughs. There's no concern there. We see him out there. If Matt Eberflus wanted to come out and give some type of an answer like that on Nate Davis to kind of calm everyone down, he could do that. All we've gotten is non-answers. That's where it reminds me of Tevin last year. The team never did anything to help Tevin out. There were clearly some type of messaging going on there, and they were testing him. And it may have worked, by the way, because he had a pretty decent season when he was out there. But that's a young kid.
Game against the Titans.
Yeah, but that was a young kid in his second season. We're talking about a veteran who just signed a $30 million contract. And who didn't show up to OTAs, by the way.
Correct. He did deal with various injuries last year. Like his whole legs, his knee, his ankle, his foot. He only played in 12 games. Just banged up. Boy, I got a big John sneeze coming here. Hold on.
Oh boy,
It's been a while. We're fighting it off. There it is.
So take that and think about that for a little bit.
There it is. Whew.
Well, you're just chugging that coffee too the whole show.
Oh, man. Need it.
Okay.
Need it in the morning. Thank you, Lord Crimson.
He said, bless you. I like the bless you in the comments.
Here, Hoge Jahns, we don't hit the cough button.
We might need a bless you drop.
Because
you sneeze so much on the show and have been now for 9 years.
I have been sneezing a lot. Yeah. It's sensitive to dust.
Okay. That's fine. Now I'm off track. Anyway. Nate
Can
Davis.
I give you a couple players with something to lose?
Yes, let's do it.
Rasheem Green.
Okay.
Defensive end who has been working with the starters really since we've seen the Bears in training camp. I think Terrell Lewis and Travis Gibson might have something to say about that by the end of the week. I'm not saying they're going to push for starting reps because, obviously things have changed at the defensive end position. The Bears' two starters haven't even played yet together. But in terms of that third and fourth spot, I think Dominique Robinson has that third spot. That fourth defensive end spot, I wonder if Rasheem Green can lose it to Terrell Lewis and Travis Gibson. I mean, do you see them keeping 5 defensive ends? Maybe they do.
Well, look, Travis Gibson was on my list of guys that had the most to lose last week, and he showed up. He had a really good game. And Terrell Lewis had a good game. But I'll say this, Rasheem Green had a great practice yesterday. So, maybe his hair was on fire.
He's been better since Ngakoue was signed. Like every practice he's had a bit more. Like a message was sent by this new big free agent edition that cost $10 million.
Yeah. Well, and we keep, at least I do a little bit, keep forgetting about DeMarcus Walker because he just hasn't practiced now in so long. But you gave him big money and he's going to be in there. So, I mean, look, he had a really good practice yesterday, Rasheem Green. At one point, I think he blew up 4 out of 5 plays. He had one rep, Johns, where he beat Cole Kmet to the inside so fast that, and I mean this, he accidentally ran over the running back. Because they were in pads, or they were not in pads, and like they're indoors, and you're not supposed to certainly tackle anybody when you're not wearing pads, but like he couldn't help himself. He won so quickly to the inside that the running back was just right there and he ran him over.
The momentum.
Yeah. So I like that one. I'm going to go with Velus Jones though again. Like, how long is this leash?
You just don't want to see him back at punt returner. Are you okay with him a kick returner? Are you just done with the punt returner experiment?
I thought it was interesting they didn't even give him a kick return last week. Like, I think they feel completely comfortable with him a kick returner. But I think you got to give him more reps here and then make a quick decision where if he has even a bobble, I think you just got to say he's not a punt returner. And because you can't go into week 1 with that being a possibility of him muffing a punt in a regular season game against the Packers and blowing the game. We saw that happen multiple times last year where it cost the Bears wins. Like, that just cannot be an option if it keeps happening. So for that to happen the other day, then you have to make the tough decision. Well, does he give you enough on offense to keep him around? Because that wide receiver room's crowded.
If he's going to be your 5th or 6th receiver anyway, he's got to play in special teams.
Yeah. Well, he is a good gunner.
Yes, we saw him on the kickoff unit. And again, that speed, fast players, their speed can show up in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Scott's been used as a gunner. I'm not sure that's going to last, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think they give it to him, actually.
You think they made that decision?
I think they're done. They should be done. We'll see if he's the first one out there.
I still saw him take some reps yesterday, though. So, I mean, but I guess you still let the guy have reps in practice to practice it. Well, if he does get more opportunity, and I'd say even elsewhere, like whatever it is, he's got to still show. So if he's going to still be the kick returner, then you better be damn good at it. And he was pretty good at it last year. So, take 140 yards or something at least, get a good return. And then if he's involved in the offense, you got to keep showing that. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. So I think he has the most to lose. All right, anything else?
No. I mean, I would add, like, just in terms of competitions, one I'm going to watch pretty closely is, like, I thought Jack Sanborn had a pretty rough game against the Titans. He missed a couple tackles. Now, he's getting himself close to the right spot, but I don't know if he's back to being 100%. But I think they have something. I think the Bears know something. I think Jack Sanborn feels something in Noah Sewell. Like, there's a good young rookie there who may have been underdrafted because of what happened in his last collegiate season. And it seems to me, well, the Bears just claimed in the little linebacker that they're trying to figure things out behind Tremaine Edmonds, just in terms of that whole competition there, who fills in on the strong side. And I want to see if Noah Sewell can push Jack Sanborn a bit. Your guy.
Yeah.
Our guy.
That's an interesting one. There were a couple plays, where Sanborn was a little out of position, but he did have that nice stop near the goal line as well. But that's been an interesting. Noah Sewell's definitely been somebody that's turned some heads at camp. He just looks confident. He just doesn't really look like a rookie out there.
What stood out to me was Malik Willis's scramble. Like, he stopped him for a sack, like a 1-yard sack. And just the way he got in position, quickly, had the instincts to get there and to make the play without getting beat in the open field, which we see a lot happen to linebackers, especially when you got a mobile quarterback like that. Like, that was impressive to me against the Titans.
I haven't gone. We're not close enough to these practices yet where I haven't done a full injury audit on the Colts and who might be sitting out practices and who might not be. But so I apologize if I'm missing something here with a couple of these guys. But how about Quentin Nelson facing these young defensive tackles if those come up in some matchups this week? I always like one-on-ones on the offensive line, defensive line in these joint practices. They're fun to watch.
Well, just speaking of, like, scrambling quarterbacks, I want to see what Anthony Richardson against these guys.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that one highlight being shared incessantly on Twitter right now, is him running over somebody?
Mm-hmm. Do you know who his backup is? Too? Well, I guess they haven't named a starter, but I think everybody's assuming Anthony Richardson starts.
Wait, should I know this?
Not necessarily. I mean, you definitely should by Wednesday, but Gardner Minshew.
I was gonna say I thought it was him. Yeah.
Yeah, Gardner Minshew, who's fun to watch and a pretty decent backup. So, and then Sam Ehlinger is still there too. 6th round pick in 2021, still around. So, yeah, it'll be a fun week. We'll be down there. We'll have you covered. Might have some surprises along the way too, and we'll pump out a pod while we're down in Indy as well. Well, probably I'm thinking after both practices are over, so we can kind of recap them both. But it should be a fun week. We're excited about it. If any Bears fans are down there, would love to see the Hoge Jahns gear. Say hello. Don't be afraid. I'm not sure what the exact setup is going to be, but yeah, don't be afraid to stop and say hello if you see us. And those Hoge Jahns polos are available now. Obviousshirts.com. Check them out. I'm hoping I'll actually have mine to wear.
Yeah, I put my order in.
Well, I'm down there. So, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see them there. They look really good. Obvious Shirts did a great job with those. The hats are coming soon. I promise you they are. It might even be today, for all I know. But I think sometime this week we're going to have the hats back too. So be ready for those. There's a couple new shirts up as well. Obviousshirts.com. You can find our collection. And you can also find it on, I know, my Twitter account. I think John's retweeted it as well. So check us out at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns, Reed Johnsy in The Athletic. You can find me, allchgo.com, and daily on CHGO YouTube channel. If you're here for the first time, we appreciate you. Hit subscribe. Hit that like button. Everybody watching, hit that like button. Help us grow the show here. And for those listening as a podcast, please rate and review. Send it off to a friend. We thank you very much. It's going to be a fun week down in Indianapolis. And, yeah, we'll talk to you from down there.
See ya.